and welcome to the news for today. Yes, the Gentex Multimedia Livecast brought to you by Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times. Well, today is a very important day. Today is the 6th of October, Budget Tuesday, as they say it, and I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. And of course, today is when the Premier will be going to the Government House with a writ to dissolve the Parliament and as they go into the elections. So, federal making news today, the federal budget to be announced today. Small business tip to be big winners in that. Donald Trump says he never felt better and don't be afraid of COVID. So he says French patients in ICU for COVID-19 over 14,000 for the first time since 28 May. New York governor closes the schools in coronavirus hotspots. Spain tops 800,000 coronavirus cases after the weekend jump. And White House press secretary tests positive for COVID-19. That plus more in today's news. But first up, let's take a very quick look at the weather for today. With that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 27 degree. Brisbane area is partly cloudy with light winds. Patchy fog was seen in the west early this morning. Chances of rain at 10%. Fire danger is high. Sun protection is recommended till 3:10 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 10, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and have a good day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dilraj. And right now, let's go to the breaking news and let's first of all take a look at all the headlines for today.
Top stories on ABC News. Millions of Australians will have more money in their pocket within weeks, with the federal government bringing personal income tax cuts forward by 2 years. The ABC understands tomorrow's budget will confirm tax cuts originally set to come into effect in July 2022 will instead be backdated to July this year. The plan will cut taxes for anyone earning more than $37,000. Victoria will return to face-to-face learning at schools in a staggered process from next week after the state recorded 8 new cases. A 9th case in Shepparton has been reclassified as a false positive. Students in Year 7 will return to school next Monday, while Years 8 to 10 will join them the week after. Former Health Services Union boss Kathy Jackson has pleaded guilty to misappropriating close to $68,000 in union funds. Jackson was charged after a royal commission into union corruption, and her guilty plea means she won't face a second trial. In December last year, a jury found Jackson guilty of 2 charges over her time running the union. And a doctor working at the hospital where the US president is being treated for COVID-19 has described Donald Trump's decision to take a car ride outside the centre as insanity. The president was driven past supporters gathered outside Walter Reed Medical Centre so he could wave at them.
And that car ride that he took has been identified as insane. Well, he's saying he's never felt better and that don't be afraid of COVID-19. But what about all the people who've already lost their life? Well, such is life and it goes on. Well, right now, let's take a very quick look at what's in plan for the budget for tonight.
Where Treasurer Josh Frydenberg has just arrived at Parliament as he prepares to hand down one of the most important federal budgets in history. Federal politics reporter Jonathan Kersley is in Canberra, and Jono, he's just spoken to reporters.
He has. The Treasurer says he has a plan, and he says that plan will be focused on jobs, and it has to be, Ali, because right now almost 1 million Australians are out of work. The government has already spent billions, and tonight will promise to spend billions more, with a deficit likely to top $210 billion. There'll be more supports, likely in the form of wage subsidies for businesses who take on unemployed younger Australians and tax cuts for low and middle income earners. That could mean an extra $2,500 for Australians, with those cuts backdated to July 1. So a lump sum for workers could be on the way in time for Christmas. The government could hold off bringing forward tax cuts for higher income earners due to come in 2024. There might be a bonus on the way for pensioners. There'll be money for roads and apprentices and training as the government tries to do two things, Ali: create jobs but also wean Australians off the billions of dollars of government support which has effectively been holding them up for more than 6 months. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg spoke moments ago here inside the corridors of Parliament. He was asked what happens if he gets this wrong.
This budget is our plan for Australia's economic recovery. We're already seeing encouraging signs across the economy as people get back to work, as the virus is suppressed, as restrictions are eased.
The Treasurer will be hoping his budget tonight, Ali, rocks the economy, but there is a big unknown with the numbers he's going to hand down. It's all based on a coronavirus vaccine being widely available next year. If that doesn't happen, more cash is going to be needed.
Well, there we go. So the latest tonight, and of course tomorrow we will bring to you the extensive coverage of all the winners and greeners out of the budget. Well, right now Queensland in the election mode. So what's been predicted? What's it looking like? Let's join Sky News for that report.
Tomorrow in Queensland is when the state election will begin. The Premier will go to the Governor, and then 26 days is how long the campaign goes until the final Saturday of the month. You know and I know how important this election is, and there was some interesting polling that came out today that said basically not much has changed when it came to the strength of the Labor Party in Brisbane. It's essentially maxed itself out last election. Things are sliding a little bit away from them in the coasts, which means they're not picking up really votes anywhere else. And the regions, things are getting worse for the Labor Party. Put simply, if you are watching us right now on Sky News on Win in regional Queensland, you will decide who the next government is. Your vote will decide whether Anastasia Palaszczuk can lose the 2 or more seats that will force her into a position that the Greens can't save her from. Now, the fake dance that both parties did today is exactly the same dance that Anastasia Palaszczuk did before she became Premier. Before she became Premier, there'd be no deals with minor parties. But then, of course, when it was a chance to become the Premier of Queensland, she did a deal with minor parties and she secured minority government. She is now pretending that she will not do the same if the Greens can save her arse come November.
No. Absolutely no. Absolutely no. No. I said no deals. I want a majority government. I need a majority government if I'm going to continue our job.
Well, the only job you're interested in is, of course, your job, because remember Queensland, remember regional Queensland, your government, the Queensland government, despite telling you it's all about jobs and investment, has only created 179, count them, 179 full-time jobs in the past 12 months. The only jobs they create in the private sector, well, they're almost an accident. Deb Frecklington is also doing the same thing, pretending that, well, she wants a majority. And look, both sides will say this, but both sides will take power. That's what they're all about. When faced with it, they will do it and do it every single time.
Now, make no mistake, this decision does not mean that there have been any deals. There will be no deals. And it does not mean anything to do with those minor parties.
But let's be very clear. Regional Queensland will decide this election. If you decide to move your vote from the government to a minor party or the LNP, you will change the government. You will get a government that does not just endlessly obsess about the southeast. Very interestingly, though, most of the minor parties have said they are not going to be directing preferences. If you get a how-to-vote card from them, say if there's 5 candidates in a race, they'll say vote 1 for Katters Australia Party, One Nation or the Palmer United Party, and then it's up to you to decide who goes 2, 3, 4 or 5. I say this, if you want to change the government, you have to put the government last. The only exception is that you put the people who could help them become the government, that being the Greens, last. That is the only option that can exist for Queensland, and the polls are showing that you are ready to flush this mob. We've got less than a month. The quiet Queenslander can and will do it. Flush this mob, I'll give you the domestos to get rid of the stain.
Well, interesting coverage there by Sky News by Paul Murray. And of course, we know that LNP has preferenced Labor Party last on the card. So, the news outlets are saying that what is this? Is this a move at win at any cost? So, with the LNP preferencing Labour as the last on the guard. So, well, right now, let's move on and let's look at the other news for today. Well, as we know that the federal government is to hand down the 2020-21 budget. Chief political correspondent, Laura Tingle takes a look at what we can expect in the budget tonight.
Even the visual cues for the federal budget are all wrong this year. Canberra is in its finest spring fettle just now, a world away from the usual wintry images of a foggy national capital, heavy coats and huddled journalists standing in the cold. And the way we will judge the budget will be completely different too.
Treasurer, you just told the Parliament that the budget is back in the black. It's not, it's still in the red.
It's actually a $7.1 billion surplus for 2019-2020.
It might not happen.
No, it will happen.
The whole premature back-in-black rhetoric of last year's budget and the political bickering that followed seems a world away. $1 trillion in debt and a $200 billion budget deficit have somehow just become shrug-your-shoulders byproducts this year of the economic calamity we have been facing. All those years of debt and deficit angst, gone in an instant. Instead, the crucial test for this year's budget will be whether it reassures a traumatised economy, the consumers, the businesses, the investors, that it is safe to come out and take a chance in the next 6 months. The usual elements of a budget to stimulate activity will certainly be there. Bringing forward tax cuts, and in fact backdating them from July, will mean that those in work can get not just a weekly tax cut, but a tax refund of between $1,000 and $2,500 in their hands over the next few weeks. If people can get out to actually spend money, and it remains an if in some parts of the country, there will be money to spend. The government has also already made clear that the other staple of budgets designed to boost activity, infrastructure, will also be there in buckets. Billions of dollars of road projects by federal, state and local governments. But a troubling feature of the government's policy rollouts this year has been how many of them have not resulted in much money actually flowing out the door. That includes programs ranging from bushfire recovery funds to small business loan guarantees, building subsidies and funding to the arts and tourism. We will have to hope the budget measures are a bit more successful. There has rarely been a government so keen to use the image of the tradie at work to sell its economic message. But the key to the budget's success will be what it does for those sectors hardest hit by the pandemic, but which have very little to do with tradies. Hospitality, arts, entertainment. These have all been brought to their knees by economic lockdown and social distancing. And beyond.
The most important part of Queensland are its people. Every single day I get my strength from the people of this great state. And I've travelled the length and breadth of Queensland. And I want to preserve our Queensland lifestyle. And because we have been able, and Queenslanders have done a great job with the health response, it allows us to open up our economy and to focus 100% now on the economic recovery. And there are tough challenges out there. You only have to look at other parts of the world where industries have been shut down. Mining have been shut down, agriculture has been shut down, businesses have been shut down. Countries are in second waves where they are completely closed and are not open. I don't want to see that for Queensland. Queensland, our best days are ahead of us. I know that. I know they're ahead of us. And that's why we all have to work together. So I'm asking Queenslanders to continue to show their support for the work that we have done in containing that health crisis and now that we are tackling the economic recovery. We know that there are challenges in terms of making sure that we get people back into work. It has been tough. People have lost their jobs. But I look around here today and I see an economy that is working. I see that there are opportunities, and just here today, Wayne was telling us that they need extra drivers. There are jobs there, and we need to make sure that we get people into work. I look around this port and I see that Queensland's exports are continuing to thrive. $74 billion of exports is still continuing across Queensland, and we are continuing to back those industries that continue to export. So it's going to be a tough race, I know that, and I'm going to work every single day to continue to earn the trust of Queenslanders and Queensland families. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not inspired by the people that I meet. There are great people out there. Every single day I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about what more I can do to get them into work, get them the skills and training that they need, because at the end of the day, family is the most important. And you can't have a family if you're sick and you're in hospital. You need to have the support services there, and that's why we're continuing to invest in health. We need to make sure our children get a good education, and that's why we're continuing to invest in the growth areas and building new schools. And then also too, we need to back our regions and make sure that we are growing our regions. We've got the skills and the training that Queenslanders need, like our free TAFE, where we're making sure that our young people who are leaving Year 12 get an opportunity to get free TAFE skills so they can enter the workforce and get a job. So we've got a long road ahead of us, and we're looking forward to the challenge. And each day we'll be out there across the length and breadth of Queensland, as I have been doing, can I say, for the last 5 years, and I'll continue to do. But once again, I just want to congratulate Queenslanders for the great work that they have done. The results that we have had because of our health response has been because Queenslanders have listened. We have seen that time and time again, whether it's dealing with cyclones and natural disasters, whether it's dealing with bushfires. Queenslanders come together. It's an incredible story, and I thank them. I thank each and every one of them. I might just hand over to the Treasurer to say a few words, and then we're happy to take some questions.
Well, g'day to all the workers who join us here today, and g'day to everyone.
Queensland Treasurer Cameron Dick.
With the COVID-19 pandemic continuing to rage around the world, taking lives and livelihoods with it, with more than 1 in 10 human beings now infected by this wicked virus, this election is all about who will keep Queensland safe and who's got the best plan to help our economic recovery in Queensland as we fight back against the worst public health and economic crisis in a century. Now more than ever before in our history, governments have to dig deep to get Queenslanders back into jobs and to get Queensland businesses back on their feet. And that is exactly what our Unite and Recovery economic plan does for Queensland. Our plan has 3 priorities. The first priority is to create jobs for Queenslanders. The second priority is to create jobs for Queenslanders, and the third priority is to create more jobs for Queenslanders. And creating more jobs is exactly what we're looking for from the federal budget to be delivered this evening by Josh Frydenberg. Now, Josh Frydenberg has made it clear, just like Queensland, that the federal government will borrow more money. In the federal government's case, $1.1 trillion to ensure the national economy can recover. And Josh Frydenberg has also ruled out returning to surplus and paying down debt indefinitely. But there's one group of Queenslanders who have promised a return to surplus, and that's Deb Frecklington and the LNP. On the weekend, Shadow Treasurer Tim Mander promised that the LNP would deliver a surplus in Queensland over the next 4 years. The only way that surplus can be achieved is by cutting deep and cutting hard and cutting across Queensland, cutting nurses and health workers across our state, which will impact on regional Queensland in particular. And sacking nurses is what the LNP confirmed on Saturday. They said that they would do that, impacting on all parts of our state. So today, as the state election commences, I'm calling on Deb Frecklington and Tim Mander to say, cut what, cut where, and cut whose jobs. Cut what jobs to ensure that Queensland will get back into surplus within 4 years, as they've promised.
We're happy to take some questions.
A new opinion poll out today has put you in the lead. Are you disappointed you're not the
A live coverage coming from Gentex Multimedia as we go into the question and answer session.
So that's up to the people of this great state about what they want to do. My priority is to keep Queenslanders safe and to grow jobs and to make sure that we recover. Sorry, Lydia? Did it give you a bit of a boost of confidence entering into the campaign at all? My job is to talk to Queenslanders, and my job is to focus on them every single day, and that's what I do.
What was your take on this LNP deal that President Blaine last in every seat?
Well, I think Queenslanders want stability. I think we learnt that during the last campaign. They want stability. They don't want chaos. And what the opposition is putting together is a recipe for chaos.
What's your plan? So on November 1, there's the plan to reopen the border with New South Wales if they give that 28 days.
And that was that live coverage there. And Queensland has a plan for economic recovery, as Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk said. But right now, let's go to Canberra and look at the budget that's going to be presented, the federal budget I'm talking about, and let's see what's in it. The budget which is explained, but remember, it will be fully announced tonight.
Often politicians and commentators compare the government's budget to a household budget to simplify it. Our audience wrote in and asked us if that is a good comparison. Emily Stewart explains.
Countries, like families, like businesses, they cannot endlessly live beyond their means.
I think householders and businesses know exactly what living within your means is.
The budget surplus is important. That is the equivalent of a household running its daily affairs and doing it to end up in profit or a surplus.
While for households and governments the budget is a document or structure to organise spending, they're not really alike. Economists say the big key difference is the government budget is a tool to help the entire economy, so it doesn't always need to live within its means.
The whole purpose as to why the government spends money and accumulates a debt is to get the economy strong again and to rebuild opportunities for people's jobs and to get the economy rolling again so that it does have capacity to pay back that debt. That's a very different scenario from households, where we take out a debt because there's a consumption item that we want to enjoy at this point.
And of course, it is very, very different to a household budget. In a household budget, you know what you are going to get, what's coming in, and then you plan accordingly to that amount. While in the government, it is quite different. You know, you can borrow, or you can overspend, you can go in deficit. So it's just not the same in the two. I was at a function, last month, where we were talking to a retired economics teacher, and people, were asking him lots of questions. And he said, look, you don't need a degree. The simple message of economics is that you've got to earn more than you spend. Simple as that, and this is a PhD and a university lecturer of economics. Well, I think in this budget, the small businesses are really looking up to the government, looking for some incentives in there. And what's on the small businesses wish list?
Shops without customers, tourist attractions without visitors, and salons with empty chairs. But other businesses are booming. Tomorrow's federal budget will reveal what the government is offering small and medium businesses. But what's on their wish lists? Fortunes vary vastly depending on the industry and location. Rachel Papazzoni and Stephanie Chalmers spoke to business owners around the country.
Hi, my name's Jessica Lloyd and I am the manager of Fresh Face Bar in Richmond. We've been offering online Zoom skin consultations, and then we've also got our online store so they can purchase products and skincare. And that's been helpful, I guess, in sense being able to, help with bills and rent. A lot of us are on JobKeeper, and with it going down, it's going to be quite difficult just living.
We're seeing a lot of uncertainty from our employees, from our competitors as well, about what the pipeline of work is going to look like next year. My name's Joanne Farrell. I'm the General Manager of Kane Constructions in Canberra. There's lots of talk around some serious investment in infrastructure and building projects, and that's great, but we can't actually see what the timeline of that is, and that's the most critical aspect for us, is having that certainty around when these projects are going to get rolled out.
I'm Robert Ravens, Managing Director of Bridgestow Estate. It's 44 odd hectares of fine French lavender. The number of local tourists now drifting through our door are very small, and bless their hearts, they don't spend a lot of money. We certainly believe that in order to stimulate demand, we need to see a reduction in personal income tax levels, particularly for people earning up to $70,000.
The Travelling Kimono is an ethical fashion label that's based out of Noosa, Queensland, Australia.
I know when they first started the JobKeep and there were some other stimulus packages and that out there, we saw a spike in sales online. So I think, yeah, if there's anything out there that is in regards to tax cuts and all that kind of thing, we probably will see an increase in sales as well. I'm the founder and the co-owner of the Travelling Kimono, an ethical fashion label. We received a $10,000 cash injection, and that made a huge difference for us as a small business. It meant that we could continue marketing our online presence whilst we were shut with the boutique.
We also believe that the cash flow boost, if that were extended, would be very beneficial for small businesses such as ours. I'm Rob Edwards, the Managing Director of Here Property. Fortunately, in Western Australia, we've handled the pandemic quite well. We've had very low case numbers and life's returned to normal much faster than we expected. We'd like to see employment being made easier, and that may be in the form of awards being simplified and modernised, and any incentives that the government could place on regional work, particularly for tourism, food and beverage.
And there's some very good suggestions there from the small to medium businesses, and of course the JobKeeper being extended would be a very, very welcome move. I know that many small businesses that we talk to, many times people are saying that, of course, in moving forward, what we really need is a subsidized wage for small to medium business enterprises, whereby we can offer long-term employment to people who can be employed and of course increase the productivity of Australia. So there's so much work that is available out there, but people are working in their businesses. I'm talking about small businesses, owner-operators who put in lots of hours. Some of them work 7 days a week. Every day they turn up to their work to complete the task that's needed to be done. And to effectively do that and to increase the productivity and effectivity of that business, there are people who are needed, but of course the simple fact of the matter is that the businesses cannot afford at the current rate. But if they were subsidized, it will do two things. One, it will give people the employment. Number two, it will increase productivity. Number three, it will cut government spending on social security, whereby these people are at least getting half of what the cost coming from the employers. So that's my little take on that. Well, right now let's move on. Well, the budget, small businesses are hoping to get some budget relief, but right now let's go to Western Australia. We need to keep moving on. I'm mindful of the time as well. So Western Australia Tourism Minister announces cheap flights to Broome, Exmouth and Canangara. So that would be wonderful, as we need to see that part of the economy start ticking once again.
The deal for Exmouth is 18,000 affordable fares. That's at $149 during the low season, going up to $169 in the high season, but it's a 12-month deal. For Broome, 20,000 seats going into Broome, another 12-month deal, $199 for those flights with Virgin. So the ones to Exmouth are with Qantas, the ones to Broome are with Virgin. I have no doubt that Qantas will end up matching that fare through competitive pressure. That means there's going to be thousands of additional affordable flights for people to go to Broome. 13,000 affordable flights available to Kununurra for next season from March next year. That means that, and there'll be a bigger aircraft, a Boeing 737 will be flying 5 times a week. Rita will be talking about other work that's being done to assist with the community having affordable flights more available throughout the year. But right now we've delivered on what they asked of us. For next year you can book for next season going to Kununurra, and that's $249 one way. All of these flights are available in both directions, so $149 to Exmouth coming back, $149, $199 to Broome, same coming back, and $249 to Kununurra. It is affordable. It is what the region's asked of us.
And that's what the regions asked for, and that's what's being delivered. I think that will be wonderful news, to get that sector moving once again. Ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time for a commercial break. As that, we welcome GlobeNet Realty.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now let's talk about some of the events. First of all, let's look at the events that took place over the weekend. First, we go to Vishnu Maya Mandir in South McLean, where the Bhagavad Katha concluded. Then families got together to sponsor the Srimad Bhagavad Katha, which concluded, and Panditji there, Pujniya Dharam Guru Tripathi Ji, blessing all the devotees who were the main sponsors for the 10-day Katha. And the next function we're going to talk about is Asu Babu Memorial Tabla Concert. And as we know, we did the live cast and we will bring to you a full edited version of that through our channel once again. But it was wonderful to see that once again taking place at Queensland Multicultural Centre. Our setup there for live casting. And now let's take a look at the upcoming events. Remember, a lot of these events would be taking place virtually or online in a webinar format. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, all the functions and events happening in and around Brisbane. As I mentioned before, please do check and make sure that you check the timings and the requirements of the events to go to the events. Well, right now, let's in the ending part of today, we will look at some of the international news and let's see what's happening overseas. Well, first, let's see what the physicians are saying about Donald Trump's health.
For the past 24 hours, the president has continued to improve. He's met or exceeded all standard hospital discharge criteria. He'll receive another dose of remdesivir here today, and then we plan to get him home. It's been more than 72 hours since his last fever. Oxygen levels, including ambulatory saturations and his work of breathing, are all normal. Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the President's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7. We send patients home with medications all the time. In fact, yesterday afternoon, he probably met most of his discharge requirements safely from the hospital. And he's returning to a facility, the White House Medical Unit, that's staffed 24/7, top-notch physicians, nurses, PAs, logisticians, and the unit.
And of course, we saw President, praising all the frontline workers and how good the hospital is and how good the facilities are, and that he's got work on his hand. He's got to make America great again. Well, right now, let's go to Auckland. As we know that the travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand and the Trans-Tasman bubble has been announced. So let's see what's going to happen there. Well, Auckland will emerge as a coronavirus restrictions this week, and the city will move to alert level 1 from midnight on Wednesday. So let's go to that report.
Now, a 95% probability of the cluster being eliminated. So, on the basis of the success and effectiveness of our elimination strategy, and on the advice of the Director-General of Health, Cabinet has confirmed that Auckland will join the rest of New Zealand at Alert Level 1 from 11:59 p.m. this Wednesday, the 7th of October. As we come together again as a country in Level 1, we can let ourselves once again feel pride that we managed to get to that position together. COVID will be with us for many months to come, but we should still mark these milestones.
And we should mark that milestone. That is wonderful and very well said and very well managed. And that report was coming from Christchurch. Well, right now, the French-Japanese fashion designer Kenzo Takada dies. As we know, he has been famed for his bold and expressive and playful approach of the art and culture. He has died. So here's that our lead out story for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's time to say goodbye. It's been wonderful having your company. It's always good to see you. And of course, we know that, when we present this, we do present it to all 100% live. It's not a pre-recorded show. So there are sometimes small technical glitches that do happen, but I do appreciate the comments and messages that are sent to us. It's wonderful to have you, and we will try and bring to you as much coverage of local functions and events as possible, so that, it's got the interest of everyone. And when in choosing the scenes that we play here and the news clips that we feature, we look at the interest of all our viewers and say what might be of interest, because as we know, all these things are sourced from publicly available online domains, and then we present them in a news format, in a story format. Of course, there are certain coverages which are our own personal coverages there as well. So I'd like to once again thank everyone for joining in, and of course all the admins of the groups. I must say this all the time, really appreciate your approval to post our live stream into your groups. Thank you very much. Until tomorrow, be good, but most of all and most importantly, stay safe.